Some people say love is something magical that happens to the brain. Others claim something biological happens to the brain that causes you to fall in love. Today we will discuss what scientists think about that. What is love? According to science, what we know about love is that in love, some neurotransmitters increase and some decrease. The cortisol level, or the stress hormone, increases, causing a person to feel nervous, while the oxytocin level increases, causing them to feel amorous. Does love affect both genders the same? It acts differently in both genders. A woman's testosterone goes up, causing her to be aggressive, while a man's testosterone decreases, causing him to be more passive. But in both genders, the serotonin level drops, causing them to be more obsessed. Although science has shown us what happens, we still don't know how a person gets there. There are some chemical processes happening. Also, an enzymatic reaction takes place. Either of these fits nicely in the missing section. Hence, certain neurotransmitters go up, others go down, which indicates that it may be biochemical. What ancient people thought about love that we need to learn from. In this century, people give love the wrong meaning. Love is not about physical touch and is definitely different than lust. And the notion of physical interaction can decrease the chances of love instead of increasing it. Hence, according to science, if you want someone to love you, don't let them touch you physically unless they are sure about their feelings. You must have heard this stuff before from older people, but if you didn't think there was science behind it, you were wrong. The science of falling in love. This brings us to science. What science thinks about not touching. Well, there is a problem. There is not a lot of research on how humans fall in love, primarily because it will be unethical to do it directly on humans. But there are some studies on animals. You might be thinking, what animals fall in love? We know for a fact that when humans fall in love, they show exclusiveness to one particular person. So science looked at other creatures that also mated exclusively, and it ended up settling on the monogamous prairie vole. When a prairie vole finds a mate that they are interested in, they basically select them to mate with for life. Scientists started looking at the neurotransmitters to figure it out, and they discovered a few hormones responsible for love in these prairie voles. 1. Dopamine. With love, one of the first hormones increases is dopamine. And if the scientists blocked the dopamine, they would lose the feeling of love. But then there was a problem. Dopamine could not be it in human romantic love because dopamine goes up with a lot of other things, like chocolate, gambling, and playing games. 2. Oxytocin. So, scientists thought that there was another hormone responsible that should be involved in bonding, called oxytocin. When oxytocin goes up with the mother and her children, that causes them to bond. They looked at that hormone and found out that when a human female finds a man she is interested in, her oxytocin level goes up by 51%, and when it was blocked, she lost that loving feeling. So, scientists calculated that it must be both dopamine and oxytocin. But then there was a problem. In a man, testosterone blocks the effects of oxytocin. Hence, it can't be oxytocin for him. 3. Vasopressin. Scientists started searching for a different hormone. They found out that vasopressin has a similar formula to oxytocin. So, scientists began studying vasopressin again. In the case of the prairie vole, when they meet, they have vasopressin. When scientists injected a chemical block into the vasopressin, male prairie voles would lose that loving feeling. This resulted in the conclusion that it's got to be dopamine, vasopressin, and possibly some testosterone for males because all these go up. What does that mean for us humans? Is this applicable to us humans? Tiffany Love, from the University of Michigan, declared that she believed that the prairie vole and human romantic love were similar. How does a woman fall in love? Well, if we look at the human mechanism again, we will see that for females it would mean that dopamine increases, and also oxytocin increases. Dopamine increases when she is dating, when she is going to win, when she is excited, or when she is in love. As long as she is dating and she is happy, the dopamine is going up. Oxytocin also goes up. It is also called the cuddle or the trust hormone, so she is kissing, cuddling, or having a good time, and oxytocin increases. And as she is dating a man and she is learning to trust him, her oxytocin increases. But there's a catch. With time, oxytocin builds up that way, and it skyrockets at orgasm. How does a man fall in love? If a man is having a good time, his dopamine is going up, but the growing up of his vasopressin is different. His vasopressin goes up when he is sexually stimulated. Hence, if he is dating a woman he is sexually interested in, the vasopressin will automatically increase. But here's another catch. Unlike oxytocin, vasopressin drops when he finally had sex. How important is this to us humans? According to a study by Florida State University, it's not only the neurotransmitters that are important. You also have to have receptors. And you can get those receptors with the presence of the neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are responsible for telling the body to build these receptors. So the neurotransmitters have to have high enough to build the receptors and then get them filled. Which in short means that it takes some time. How do we know a man is in love? A man in love is with you when he commits. It is as simple as that. According to a study from the United States Air Force, that followed over 2,000 servicemen for more than a decade taking different tests. One of the tests they took was for testosterone. That found out was, when a guy comes in, and he is single, his testosterone is relatively high. But as soon as he gets married, this level drops automatically. A study was done by Harvard University. They took samples of married men, single men, and men in committed relationships, and tested their testosterone. And they discovered that single men had high testosterone, while married men had lower testosterone. But here is the catch: in the sample of men that were married, and the sample of men that were in committed relationships, the testosterone level was the same. That can be summarized as men's testosterone did not drop when he got married. It dropped before that when he committed. How do we know a woman is in love? Women take a bigger risk to prove she is in love, and that is by having sex with their respective partner, unlike men who prove they are in love by commitment. Hence, men and women are different in various capacities and need to feel the same through different experiences. And in both, some hormones play an important role to feel loved. But it is important to mention that falling in love is a very different experience from staying in love, and they might not feel the same effect after a certain amount of time.